Yeah, it's my girlfriend's computer.
With the girlie's computer. Put her in her name,
Oh.
baby.
How's your morning going?
Pretty good.
Dude, you look like I feel like you have a Rapine look going almost with the mustache and the short hair.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Right? Well, I mean, I think I've been acting a little bit out of pocket lately, so I kind of needed to like clean up my act a little bit, even if it's just a haircut and a shave.
Dude, that reminds me of like a time in college where my roommate.
Acting a little bit out of pocket lately, so I kind of needed. Yeah, I'm hearing. I'm just. Sorry, we just went live.
He was like one night just like had a really long night. He had like his big beard and long hair, and he was like he was my last roommate in the dorms. He was a cool cat. And he woke up. I woke up one morning. He's like, "Did I wake you, man?" And I was like, "No."
Uh
But he
huh.
was clean cut, and he's like, "I was just having a long night. I took some doses, and I just needed to fucking clean up, dude." And he was like, "I'm all better. Sorry." But it was like a total transformation for the kid. It was so sick.
I mean, a good dose will do that to you, right? I mean, you know that.
Dude, just put your head on straight. It's fun to get out there, but it's fun to come back too.
Yo, so this is Pirate Utopia. We're on season 2. This is the Rockstar edition. Music makers only, noise makers, rump shakers. And if there's not a rump shaker, I could be more excited about introducing to all of you who do not already know this person. If you do, you know how magical he is. Wally Bear, Bradley, Jeffrey, LaPrade. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Goddamn! Thank you so much for making time for this and carving this out because I really want to focus on I want to focus on the Wally Bear story. Like,
Yeah.
you've been a part of so many projects that are remarkable and people comment on and are super grateful. Like, I was watching one of the Impractical premiere videos the other day, and it was just like there's a band rocking out, there's a skate premiere going on, you're in the video, you're throwing the party, you are this fly on the wall that people actually, I think, don't quite know the full story of. So I hope we can kind of at least get into that in the next hour and a half or so.
Totally, yeah, man. It's looking back and stuff. It seemed like production has been a big part of it, and being a part of community and just like having a reason to get together, like the big first realized premiere, at Earpiece when uh you just had like this hodgepodge of group. It was almost like people we'd never seen before come together, where all the people were related through skateboarding or music or something. But when the time came, you got the people to show up at the right time, at the right place, And yeah, I mean, all the way back to the skate park. I think that may be what was the big inspiration, right? We grew up going to the skate park. I was like there every day after school,
Sure.
like whatever, didn't want to sit at home and get yelled at or like beat up by my brother. So it'd be like, oh, I'll go and hang out. You might get poked fun at or something for being like hesh but you never know who's gonna be there, dude. And like if you have you don't even need a skateboard. You could be sitting under the branches of the tree and you'll be like a part of the group, if the right crew's there, towards the end when you build the community.
So as much as we're gonna get into FGO, I'm sure in this conversation, like let's pedal it back a little bit. When were you born? Where were you born? What's your parents' names? What's your brother and sister name?
I'm from Jersey. Was born in Jersey back in '88. I got an older brother named Matt. He is 3 years older, 85. My sister Michelle is 1 year younger, year and a half. She's like 30 something, 31. And then yeah, my parents are both from Jersey. Everyone in my family was born in Jersey, born and raised pretty much.
But
And
you lived in Maryland. I was always thinking Maryland for you.
no, my pops moved us out early. He worked in the aerospace industry, and there's hella military in Maryland, so that's why we moved to Maryland after I was only 3, and I was there till I was 7. Coincidentally, I don't think it's a coincidence at all. He moved us out when Prop 215 passed in California, which is the legalization in 1995. He got a job and that brought me to Pleasanton, So that was kind of, I don't know.
How old are you then? Like you were like 10?
I was 7.
7. All right.
just old enough to get left behind by the school curriculum differences, right? Like I don't, you probably, I don't know, you ever moved schools big before? Oh,
I've been to boarding school.
yeah, like oh, that too. Like when I did, the curriculum was totally different, and they just expect you to know it. And I was young, it didn't matter. But it's like a second grader, they're like, "All right, write a paragraph, bro." And I was like, "Dude, I've never heard of a paragraph before."
Right.
I remember my teacher used mine as an example of being like, "This is what you don't do," in front of the class.
Oh
Oh my
no.
God, you know, like,
Yeah.
right? What?
Perfection, just in the wrong way.
Right? You know, it was like, yeah, it was. That stands out as a memory to me. Miss Craney, not the right way to do it.
Wow.
But yeah.
I'm trying to think. So you're 7 years old. You went from the East Coast,
Mhm.
and then I'm trying to think. To be honest with you, I know we crossed paths like playing football and like just
Flag football, bro.
Yeah,
We were both on the Steelers or
I
the
don't
Blue
know.
Bills. The Bills, maybe?
I think we may have both been on the Bills. That's very
Right?
true. Because
We're the
that was the kid that played quarterback on that team now plays the shortstop for the SF Giants.
Mark? Was that the kid's name? He was the coach's son?
Maybe okay. I thought it was the Bills. Maybe it was some other team.
We
But
were undefeated that year. Like we never
I'm
lost a
saying
game.
that's the same. Brandon Crawford plays
Oh,
shortstop for the San Francisco
oh, I
Giants.
didn't know
He
that
was
Brandon
on our
Crawford
team
was on that
that
team.
year.
Okay.
Yeah. Every
It,
fucking dad in Pleasanton was like, that kid's a fucking ace, you
he's
know.
gonna, that's where the parents are yelling when they're doing tackle. Like, stop the game so we can fight.
I swear, my uncle coached him in lacrosse and football, and he was like, "This guy could be pro baseball, football, or lacrosse." And
Ah,
then,
yeah,
if you play baseball, I think you have the longest running career to make the most money. But
that makes sense. It's the chill, not the chillest, but like no one's hitting you. Like no one's
right,
gonna
yeah,
rock you in
you
the
can
face,
play baseball into like your late 30s. Like you can't ball and hoop when you're like in the NBA at late 30s.
right?
No way.
No way. Oh my God. Well, yeah.
But I'm trying to think like the first thing that I really remember, and I've thought about this interview for about the last week, and I was like, the first memory I have of Jeff coming into my life that I was like, I want this dude in my life a lot more was I was filming at FGO and we were skateboarding, and I had the DVS bench. There was this little bench that got Yumi's, and it was off the medium box, and people were just tricking off it all day, and I was like bugging out because I was like, sweet, I'm just gonna sit up with my camera and just get tricks all day. And then Jeff busted out this nose grind. That was like back then, nose grinding that bench was sick. Like that was a trick that not many people could do. And it was just like this sweaty dude who grinds this nose grind literally like a ballerina in a body that you don't assume can do ballerina moves. Like it's kind of like God, what's the guy's name? Who's that big white rapper from like Albania or whatever?
Oh, I don't know. Not the cook dude.
No, he's the cook guy. Yeah, who has fuck that's delicious.
Oh, I didn't know he's Albanian. Fuck, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
That
for
guy.
sure.
Yeah, like you had that kind of finesse where it was like, cause once in a while that guy will hit like 5 3-pointers in a row, and you're like, how is it?
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you had that type of finesse where I was like, okay, and then you also fought Tyler Nuppy, which I thought was really cool.
I still think about that sometimes. It's like, fuck, was I an asshole for that? But like, he was being hella mean to my boys, and those are people. I even looking back, like
Action Bronson. All right, just wanted to say his
Action
name 'cause
Bronson, yeah.
he deserves some credit.
Dude, that was totally, the fight was totally just peer pressure. Everyone, you're like, maybe I'll do this. And everyone's like, yeah, fucking do that. And you're like, okay, man. But yeah, I mean, fuck, skateboarding was like, I feel like it was the first thing besides video games. I was like, I want to try really hard at this, like I want to do this all the time. It's hard. Like I feel like even now with like that's why when I really hurt myself the first time, like I tore my ACL the first time, is when I was like, oh, I should start playing music for real, because like I can't skateboard forever and I need to do something, because it's like, yeah, this is gonna get taken away from me for sure. And there's other ways to be in it. You could like film or whatever, but it's like it's almost like it's so hard to be around. Like I can't even be around a skateboard without like just a little push, bro. And then like last time I went to the skate park, I was like limping away in like 10 minutes. Like I just I don't know. The cat's just staring at me with his mouth open right now. I don't know what's going on.
Got that purple rain rode my motorcycle through the rain type of love through that skateboarding. I mean, it's like you can't
Right,
if you skate and you know how fun that shit is, you can't not try to do it again.
right. And then also if it's taken away from you, you can't help but try and find something that was like made you feel similar to that, that like you'll start and you won't end until like it tells you to end, and you don't even know where you're gonna be at the end of the day. You could be in another fucking state. You could be like hundreds, 200 miles away in the ditch somewhere, like filthy, drinking beers with people you've never met, or like it's like an adventure, just like guaranteed. There's always something new to do. It's just a reason to like keep going and keep trying and like do something new, you know.
While we're on four wheels, like uh what was the first thing that made you think like I want to do this? Because like your experience to me skateboarding, like for one, you broke a lot of boards. You'd always buy boards directly from Deluxe.
Mm.
Like you'd participate on the message board and you went to Woodward, which
Oh
I
yeah.
think I remember when you didn't go to Woodward and then you had gone afterwards, and I was just like, fuck, this dude is so much better from the skate camp for a
Dude, that's
couple.
what nose grinds came from, was the first week at Woodward. Totally. I mean, it started just looking out the window and straight up Rapine, Alex Rapine and Mike Vieira like skating down the block. And it's like, damn, I want to do that. I want to hang out with those kids. They look cool. Or I was sitting in my room playing like EverQuest, like in the dark, like straight up, like, like you can't even see like a stoner before you're even a stoner, just like neck beard nest. And then it was like, oh, I start hanging out with these guys. And my first skateboard I got was like from my brother's friend Jude, who is also still just an epic human being. Um, it
Yeah,
was the
Jude kills it.
dude, he's a renaissance man. you know
Definitely.
that's all there is to it. But I bought like a $20 musket board with, it was a kamikaze with like chipped everything, going trucks, which they didn't even make at the time, like, you know and then it was like towards middle school, the end of middle school, then like Mike had to play all these sports. His dad made him, he had to be in a sport that practiced every day. And then Rapine kind of fell off, and it was like, fuck, now what do I do? I just keep going to the skate park. And that's kind of where I was like, started to migrate. I remember over to like that table, like, also I sat with these other kids that were just like, the only other groups of friends were just like mischievous, and not in a good way, like we're, as a skateboarder, we threw stuff at people. I remember Slurpees and donuts and stuff at cars. But before that, it was like sitting with people throwing like batteries and shit at people. Like this isn't cool, and like I don't want to be a part of this, because it's not a good thing to be connected to, bro. I remember specifically someone at the lunch table had thrown a battery and hit this chick in the head. Like, bro, that was just straight fucked up. Like, I can't be associated with you people. Like, straight up, I remember thinking that, and I was like, I'm gonna go sit with the skaters, dude. You guys are violent, and that's not cool. Well, then skating has its own thing. Kids freaking out and shit, or me trying to fight Tyler Nippy at the skate park. But
I feel like I'm guilty of throwing some like unappropriate things at high school rallies, but
oh, the mouse ball, was that you?
maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's been milk surprises that have come out of left field that I till this day feel bad about.
Wait, that's at least the milk surprise you can wash off. That was my idea. Like, the battery could have hit someone in the eye. You could have blinded someone. It was a D battery, like, or a big C battery. It wasn't like a triple A. This was like, yeah, just like,
Uh,
yeah, like, this is only meant to hurt someone. And you hit them right in the noggin. Like, bro, it was like, if it was a milk surprise, it still would have been funny to me. This is not funny. I don't know.
I don't know, because like I'm literally thinking about that. I'm like, I think I threw a battery at a rally one time. That like
Oh, maybe, yeah.
yeah, and it's like that's not cool. But at the same time, you have no wherewithal
Right.
being that young. And
You're
I remember thinking, you can't get caught for this. There's
right,
no
because
way they could prove that you did this, you know?
That's
And that's a horrible, horrible thing to do.
right. But I mean, growing up in it, I mean, being brought up in an institution that is a school, that's like kind of what you learn, like I'm not a face, I'm not a name, I'm just like a part of the crowd right now, and I can't get away with this, where, so it's, it's both. The environment's there, it's not healthy, you know, it's not like they have the supervision or why do they need to get 1,000 kids together to say there's a
Exactly.
football game today, like, we know, dude, we're not going, don't make us pretend that we want to. Fuck, maybe we would go, but
But okay, so was there something that you thought? I mean, you saw kids skating outside, right? And
mhm.
then was there anything else that was like, I need to be away from home. I want to ditch this. I want to. I don't know. I just want to explore the world for what it is, and I've got a vehicle to do so, and I'm not even able to drive.
Probably. And that, I feel like that didn't really, because before that it was like video games was plenty of an escape from, it's fine, fucking magical worlds everywhere. You'd be Mario killing Goombas or like fighting goblins as some knight or wizard or something, and that was cool. But it's just like a different type of adventure, you know. Uh, it started out like with the boys. You would just go into the skate park or go into the sports park, and try and find like, oh, here's like a piece of grass we can ollie over, or like the benches, bro. Before the skate park, it was the benches. They were down by the snack bar at the way in, and we
Right.
hit that shit every day. Just wax it up, and it's not even just going there to skate. It's like all the hijinks lead to it or come from it. Like there's the payphone there where you can like call people from the payphone, prank phone call, or like some people play soccer there and you'll get nagged by like the adult every once in a while who's like, you're ruining the benches. So it's just this like multi-dimensional experience of like socializing and exercising, and then I never, at the end, I still to this day have never been as sore as I have been skateboarding, like, riding my bike across the country, like my quads were never as sore as trying to ollie that 10 stair at Vintage Hills all day that one day, and I could barely walk for a week. But yeah, so those, it's like a little bit of all these things, and it's first, it's just straight up started being like, I want to know these dudes, and then as they started to fall off, the vehicle itself just took off. Like, oh, I just go to the skate park, doesn't matter. And then you meet all these other people to the point where, when you first start off, there's so much intimidation, but like within a few years, it like transcends. I, in a few years, I was sitting by myself, and Derek Lockyer, who I didn't know at the time, is like 6 years older than us. By the end of the day, we're shooting the shit, and it's like you know, we're equals in that moment of like, we're both beat, we're both just under. Doesn't matter how old you are, man, or like, I don't know. The diversity of people is just so real, and it's just you and the board. You break it, you got to go get a new one. You know, personal growth.
I remember thinking that like when we would go to Deluxe in the city, like somehow you had like a little bit more place being in that shop than we did because like you were on the message board, you're like in the gossip. Plus, you bought the boards direct. Like I was always buying it from Zoomies or from a secondhand shop, basically.
Well, before the first recession in middle school, whatever, like I think it was like when we were 15 or 16, they used to sell boards for $45 online, shipped to your door. Plus, they'd give you like $30 worth of stickers, free shirts. So I was like, yeah, why not? But at some point, they were like, we're not doing this anymore. Go to the shop and buy it,
Uh huh.
We saw All City come and go real quick, They were like, yo, go to the shops and buy it. Don't buy it from us. Support the community, you know. And it was that also helped build the vibe too of like, oh, this is what skateboarding's about, like it's, if you can, like, do what you can to like keep everyone around you doing it, right? You got an extra board, give it to the kid who just broke his, you got
Yeah,
the
yeah.
you got the homie bag of old stuff, and if someone needs trucks or wheels, like it's always there, and everyone's got one pretty much. If you've been skating long enough, you have the old parts that you're giving away, flat spot
Dude, I
wheels or
remember. I just remember. I miss being in those circles because it's like we had the FGO circle, and then at one point there was the circle that I was around with like John Gilbert and Meeker, and
Yeah,
Ben and all those guys that knew all the cool spots, and then like that blended with like Mike, because Mike maybe could get sponsored or whatever, and you could film, all these people plus Doug's a filmer, and there's
right,
drama in there, like, but
right.
all the circles crossing over. It's like next thing you know, you're walking out with a new pair of Adidas because
Totally.
you
And
know.
then we're like Greg Millions is taking you to like a castle in the hills of Oakland with like the most perfect, that's all of it, right? It's like a whirlwind that you just jump into. Meeting of people of all types too, the good and the bad. Fuck, it's crazy. And I mean, it's all just like you want it more. Like the one of the first events that we probably started, I feel like, was the skate park skate. Uh
Famous Gate.
Yeah. And like those were big, like thinking back, those were like 50 to 100 kids just hanging out.
50, 100 people together now.
Yeah. It's tough. I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, it takes me like, I saw John Gilbert this weekend. I've been waiting to see that dude for like 6 fucking months. And no, hey, it's just like hard to link up.
For
And
sure.
then even so, we did, and we're like, all right, next weekend we're gonna go do something else. And then like I get it set, or we try to, and immediately it's like life's in the way, bro. Like rain check.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was like, and I mean, that's everywhere. Like there's a DIY park like in Salem, just south of us. There's a sick community around, but it's just when you come from outside, it is hard to like dip your toe in. And I mean, fuck, it's easier for me with surfing now because my body holds up better. But like trying in Albany when I lived in Albany, New York for a while, like that was the only way I could, that or going to the bar was like, okay, this is how I make friends. And it's like the bar is not a good way. So trying to skate, and it's like, fuck, like I just want someone to hang out with and like, but like not hurt myself. It's such a hard balance, you know? Because I can't be at the skate park and not skate. But it worked though, because like skateboarding is such a small, awesome community. I was in Albany for 2 years, and they've got a huge skate scene. Season Skate Shop is like so epic. Like the clothes are dope. So many original artists, as big as like, who's that fish guy? I forget.
What, Trey?
No, something fish. He does like really
Fishman?
cartoony.
Oh, oh, I thought you were talking about the band Fish.
No, I'm talking about the artist. He does like cartoony kind of like animals mixed with skulls and stuff.
Or like an upper playground guy, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh God, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, but he's like from the area, so he's really into it. A lot of like, I don't know, like cool local art, and they just support.
Right. No, Season's dope.
It is, it's so sick. And I was just like, they go out to California and the Bay Area all the time. And so I was like, bro, you have to know. Like, we have to know someone mutually. And
Yeah.
for so long, it was like, nah. And and then I forget, I told my buddy Harrison Hafner, who is a fucking epic shredder from Danville. I met him I'd seen him skating in high school, but I met him at orientation. He came up to me and he's like, you skate. Let's skate, bro. We're in San Francisco together. And I was like, yeah, all right. So uh he mentions to me, he's like, oh, like I love those Seasons guys. So after like 2 years, I could finally go to Seasons and be like, we do know someone, like hit up Harry.
Right.
Like I swear, we're boys, It's
Oh,
such a small
Jeremy Fish.
community.
Jeremy Fish. That's
That's
who you're
who it
talking
is, Jeremy Fish.
about. Yeah, yeah.
Right. And
I just
like
want to give him a
Seasons has
shout
like,
out because we're doing this episode, so he deserves it.
yes, right. And like they're like Kenny Reed is from the area too, and does like input on I think Ryan Gallant is from the area. I don't think he's there anymore, but just like a lot of cool influences, kind of like modest but heavy hitters. And that's kind of what, like, Seasons is a small shop that has all the core stuff you need, but then when time comes, like they know how to like drop like sick Nikes that no one else is going to have, and get people to line up. So it's just coming back to the community. It's like, fuck, it's like everywhere.
So like you, I think you to me kind of like embody this a bit of like a disco ball of a human being where it's like you could like we could hang on the mirror of skateboarding and your experience in it, and that's an entire that's your everything. But then there's also this other tile right next door, which is your understanding of math and physics, and I think that comes with I'm going out on a limb here, but I think that your father really put you on that path a little bit, whether it was like ancestral or not. Like, definitely was encouraged because I know he was writing books and talking about concepts that like it's like they're making sense now to people, but like he was talking about this shit in the 90s, in like
Bro,
in the early 2000s, right? So like,
when I was very young, he would come in I mean, my brother and my sister too. And well, right before we go into bed, he'd be like, "Do you have any questions?" Right? I have a children's book that I'm just looking for a publisher that's like goes through this. The idea that he would be like, "Do you have any questions?" And I don't remember a lot of them. You know, there's a few that I do remember, and the ones that I do remember, I was like, "How do you do math? Can you do math with letters?" And I mean, I was like 5, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, like," and I was like, "Is A equal to 1 and B equal to 2?" And he's like, "Nah." He's like, "The letter can mean any number."
mm,
And he sat and started to talk about it for like 10 minutes until I fell asleep. But he explained what like lines were. And it was like the introduction to algebra. So when I saw that in a book, I was like, oh, yeah, I've heard all about this already. You know, just math with letters. It's not a big deal.
right.
You know, so the initial shock and shit wasn't there. The other one that really, really stuck with me and made me like, it encouraged me and like to just like ask questions and not feel stupid was what is stuff made out of? Right. And he's like, uh, you know, he's like electrons, protons, neutrons, quarks, you know. Again, I was like 5 or 6. And I was like, how do you know? How the fuck do you know? That's what I said when I was 6. And I was like, um, he's like, how do you find out what's in a rock? You know? And I was like,
Yeah.
how? He's like, you smash it on another rock. I was like, oh, okay. So that's like what a particle accelerator is. It's just like something that speeds these things up and smashes them together. And so it didn't seem complicated, you know, where it's like, oh, they're just like smashing shit together and it breaks apart and this is what you get. So there wasn't like the cultural buildup of being like, oh, this is so hard, or this, you know, the preconceived notions that this is a topic that is like unattainable or out there for someone. Like, no, like if you can be taught it, if someone can teach you or you can ask the questions, then you can learn it. And that's kind of what I got from that, you know. And it developed to the point where I didn't really give a fuck. It didn't manifest until like junior year of high school when I watched that What the Bleep Do We Know movie. Have
Mm.
you? Yeah. And then
Remember that one? Yeah, yeah,
it's like such a good hook, you know, but it caught my tooth or whatever, my cheek, and I was just like, this kind of feels like bullshit.
mm,
Like, I don't want to hear what people are saying. I want to see the math because I could make my own decisions, you know, and you can't throw a fucking basketball through a wall. And that's like, you know, big analogy that they're using for quantum mechanics.
right.
And so it's like, oh, you know, that's why it was like, oh, if I don't know, I had the privilege of my parents are going to fucking send me off to college and shit. That's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's like the realest thing. And so that's what I want to study, you know, that's the realest thing that I can know, I think, or at the time, you know, as like a 16-year-old. It's like,
Because like in as your friend, I know that we've both like had the transparency with each other to admit our lows, our addictions, our maybe parts of our shadows, if you will. But at the same time, I credit you a lot as somebody who has attained some sort of serenity. And part of me thinks that it has to do with understanding the math, because the more that I get into the math, even in my own life, whether it's financial or other math, the more I study the math, which is like nobody likes to study math or physics. It's hard.
yeah,
Nobody
it's fucking weird.
wants to do that. But like the more you study it, the more that you actually understand it. Just like skateboarding. Doesn't mean you're going to be Tony T doing like 15-foot airs out of the bowl, but like next thing you know, you're dropping in and carving that same bowl that Tony T can air out of.
Totally.
And that's where I'm like, do you think that math has afforded you anything? Is your serenity fake? Because like you can also be like you can be a very generous sadhu just dancing around, and like that's cool. But then that's going to crash and burn epically, and I would hate to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's weird in a lot of ways. Like humans, we just want to understand, and I feel like math and physics is a the pinnacle of like one of the pinnacles, not the of trying to do that. And so all we can do to arm ourselves against like the onslaught of uncertainty in reality is, educate ourselves in any way we can. And I mean, it's probably different for every person. Like I was brought up around the like not even religion. I went to church till I was like 7 or 8, but like math and science, and then kind of like fucking drugs and shit. And it was like, oh, this is my interaction with reality, and these are the tools that I have, or that I searched out or was like shown young by my parents or whatever to deal with it. And the my study of physics definitely did cultivate like a philosophical background and like fundamental belief structure that I still hold, you know. But it's also like maybe yeah, it cuts down expectations. Because in the end all you really figure out is like you don't know. But then like you kind of look at the numbers and look around you and you're like, well, like, but it's all good. Like I just am not gonna know.
Mm.
But we can do our best to prepare. And then even so, if we think we do know, is that just like confirmation bias building up inside of us to help us deal with the next situation? And in reality, we don't know if it's going to be cool, right? Might be fine, you trip on a rock and hit your head, like skating. I would always, I mean, I know so many skaters are like this, but you fantasize about skating and like immediately you're like, I hit the rock, I smack my teeth out, I break my arm, all in one fall. And then it's like, you just like, it's so easy to visualize the worst thing happening.
Mm.
It's so easy. So like, what tools can we get to like to stay away from that? And the science is all right. And it's cool because you can always fall back on it. I mean, I do it for, it's part of my work and shit, but it's also like, um, I don't know, it's like it's good because it does open all these doors that you don't know, but the community is totally different, right, than say like skateboarding or art, where the community is like people know like, oh, we don't know, and I paint and that's what I do because like I'm not sure, and this is makes me feel comfortable, or I write or whatever. Where in science you get, and you see it in painters too or whatever, that people that are like, oh, I do know, and this is how you do it, this is how you should do it, and it's like, like
Mm.
that's how you do it. And I feel like in math and science and in academia in general, that there's a little less leeway, where if I've got a paintbrush, I can just like make a mark and be like, I painted. And someone could be like, no, you didn't. But like history has shown like, oh yeah, like, yeah, they did. Someone pissed on a toilet. That's like art, like where math and science, it's like, oh, it's not published in a journal. It's not, it, rigor is like so intense. Like you got to work your whole fucking life. It makes it seem like you got to dedicate your life to like make a difference in
Mm.
this. And maybe you don't have to. There's been people all throughout time that have done all sorts of stuff. I mean, like Brian May, I think is the guy's name. He's like the guitarist for Queen, astrophysicist. A lot of like people do a lot of different things. And it does help you stay grounded if you have, I feel like, more than one way to look at the world and like a few lenses to put on. Even if your glasses are rose colored, sometimes that view is necessary.
Mm. So, okay, you got definitely got some you got a good start with having your dad kind of introduce you to math as you're falling asleep, like teaching it to you as you're a child. I think is that's like really something that I harp on a lot lately, where it's like if you learn something as a child, whether it's cattle raising or horseback riding, dirt bike riding, skateboarding, if you learn it as a child, you have the potential for mastery, right?
Totally, right? That's why, yeah, it's
But
hard
then
not to keep
like
yourself right.
now like let's go to the next mirror that's right next to it, and it's like you've been to Burning Man 10 times or whatever. And it's like there's a lot of exploration with chemicals, psychedelics, and you combine that with math and your experience with art and music, I think that's where you have, not to say that it's happened, but that's the petri dish for brilliance. It's like this person has some sort of education, they have some sort of education in the craft they want to do, and now we're going to give them this extra little, it's basically like hitting turbo.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's how you felt when you went to the playa, but
For sure. It was like, it's just like, oh, it's again, it's like the community is what makes it important. And there's places in my life where I've had community close to that, where you can, wake up, and if you were to walk downstairs butt ass naked with like a bunch of lights, people would be like, huh, look at this guy,
yeah,
but
yeah,
wouldn't be like, ew, dude, put your dick away. That it's so it was it's I mean, I encourage anyone to go, and not just to Burning Man. That's like, there's so many things that are just like at the regional ones, or there's like, I hear the Rainbow Gathering is similar but different, and it always depends on the people you interact with. Like, people don't, I don't know, you think about Burning Man is this great thing, and then, but it's a city, like people get robbed, like there's like drug addicts stealing shit, and there's like violence, and people that are like, fuck you, get out of here, like it's, but that's it. That's one of my favorite parts about the burn, is being kind of mean to people, bro, because I'm just like not like that normally, and
yeah.
it's very cathartic for me to be like, fuck your burn, or like, get out of my fucking way, bro. Just because it's like, it's there, it's more, it's like almost art to be like, you're all I'm doing, my art now is with the expectations of the people around me, of being like, oh, this is so great and new, and it's like, oh, someone just said fuck me, like, oh, like, no, you're in a city, bro, relax, like, enjoy the experience of the spectrum, and not like this one idea that you have that it's like all dust and rainbows, because it's like, I don't know, it's just like, it could be whatever you want, it's like, I guess it's like any day, but there it's like in your face, like if you go to a retreat center, you may have experienced it. There's like this kind of like hyper reality that happens where you ask for something, and if you spend your time looking for it, you can like make it for yourself, whatever it is, like straight up whatever it is, in like 2 or 3 hours, and you'll have to get lost first, and then it'll pop up and smack you in the fucking face. It's crazy. You might not even know you were asking for it, like, you think what the burn has for you. The first time I ever went, I went to read poetry at this open mic, and I was like, yeah, I just had these books of poetry I brought. Maybe I hadn't written it yet, but whatever. I wanted to share it. I was working on that part of myself, and I get lost and I can't find it. And I see this place called Math Camp, and I was like, what, bro? And so I sit down, and this guy is like, tell me about something imaginary. And I was like, and he's referring to the imaginary number, which is the square root of -1, which is like the source of all sorts of weird shit in math. So I bring up, I had just seen Stephen Hawking speak with my father about something called imaginary time, which is a statistical mechanical quantity, which is like really trippy. So there's, in if you do the mathematics of the universe using the tools called statistical mechanics, there are two types of time, and one, which is the one that we experience mathematically, goes straight, right? It just goes straight, like. But then this other thing, when we see the imaginary number in equations, what we like to do with it, like in circuits, it shows up and it makes frequency. So without the I, you get direct current, but with frequency, you get like alternating current. So you make it spin around. Either way, the way they deal with this is they have the linear time axis, and then they have the imaginary one that spins in a circle around it. So you're spiraling through time, right? Really, take a dose, even smoke a bowl, take a strong edible, and you might be like, oh, I'm in deja vu, right? Maybe you're just feeling that spiral of time, bro, and you were just back there, and it's spinning a different way, and it's just axis we're not conscious of. So, and I mean, you mentioned it before, the intersection of these things gives us tools to interpret, math and experience and chemicals, and even skateboarding, like, it gives us an interpretation of it, right? Like,
Remember, like we be skateboarding, and there was like we were on like some college campus or something, and there was like this professor who was like, "There's no mathematical reason that you can kickflip consistently. That makes no physical sense if you do math about it.
Totally. You literally just like took the thought out of my brain of like skateboarders are physicists, like they're experimentalists, every single fucking one of them. And in a way that's like so complicated that you couldn't even do the experiment because we don't even have like the equipment that it would take to get the data to properly, measure it. And that's why the games look weird and the motion capture's kind of, because you can't mimic it. It's like perfect and it's different every time. I mean, it's like painting digitally. It's dope as fuck, but you don't feel the brush on there yet. Maybe they will. Maybe you do. I don't know.
I've spent a lot of time digitally painting, and I don't think it's different than physically painting anymore.
Really?
Yeah, not anymore.
That's awesome.
Uh, what people think of it, that's different. But the
Yeah.
amount of effort that goes involved into like, it's probably more difficult than getting a physical painting going.
Right. There's so many more tools, I feel like.
Yeah, you get the thing fired up. It's got to be charged. Now you have to have music on. You have to, like, get the right tool. Wait, the landscape's not watermelon background. I don't like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into digital painting that people don't
Yeah.
recognize.
Totally. Right. Like when you see the sped up.
But so, okay, now that we're on this subject, and I kind of want to hang here for a second if you can entertain this question. But I was listening to a interview from a physicist, and he's also a financial guru, Eric Weinstein. Do you know that guy's work at all?
I have heard of him. I think I don't know. I've just heard about him on Reddit recently, I think, because I'm following this GameStop shit like crazy.
Okay, yeah. Him and his wife have a capital fund or whatever. They can barely even play in Wall Street anymore because they're so good at like just manipulating the system. Like,
Quantitative analysis.
yes, based on data and analysis. It's like they don't actually have a hack, but like they do.
Yeah.
They kind of do. But then his other thing is actually about physics, and he just started like deploying, if you will, for lack of a better word, this theory called the theory. It's like the unified theory.
Hmm.
So it's not theory of everything. It's literally unified theory. It's an expansion on the theory of everything.
Yeah.
And instead of like, it's funny because it's like he literally groups in every single person, like groups in trans people, groups in white people, groups in people of color, groups in every single person. And it's like, hey, even if you're a flat earther, you're grouped in.
Hmm.
What if the shape of the universe that we're being told and taught is incorrect? Like, not to say that it's a flat plane, but also to say that this galaxy model has served us to this point where it's like his unified theory, at least the way that I could best understand it, and it's too bad because he was on Rogan, and I thought Joe was. I love Joe. He's like the fucking bonehead American, which is great. But then it was like, what if your IQ goes a little bit beyond the bonehead American? You're ready for the next step, and he just could not get over this one concept where I was like, dude, you're holding up the fucking interview on your own show. Like, just
Right.
shut up. Like when you shut up, that's the best part of your show. And so this unified theory of everything is kind of like you exist in this cube, sort of. And your perception of it, let's call it a donut, right? So like your entire reality is the donut around you,
Hmm.
like around your existence. But
Yeah.
then your perception of it is the whole of a donut. It's like there isn't anything there. It's a black hole.
Hmm.
But it's looking at this donut, spherical. It is spherical. They're not wrong. But the flat earthers are also not wrong either. Like, because it's just spherical depending on where you are. And
Well,
then
it,
on top of that, but then when you get around other people, your donut needs to merge with them. So it's like two donuts aren't going to necessarily merge into the like circle of life just brilliantly.
oh,
Sometimes they have to shape into like a star shape, or they have to be like,
well, it's like
I'm angry.
it's
This
like
creates this pattern, which will
like
you know.
just like a different ground states for different atoms have different configurations of electrons based on how much energy. Well, that wouldn't be the ground state, but like, you know, you just like when you play different notes for water. If you have a
Yeah,
water,
that's what I'm
right?
talking about.
Yeah, it's just different vibrational. And it's funny because like they love to work in this way where like they put levels on everything. So like, I mean, that's how it looks like reality works, but like those discrete levels of energy are what are the different, like, could be. And we've seen it in What the Bleep Do We Know. They talk about like the monks meditating by the water crystals and it changes the shape of the crystals, which is a bummer that supposedly that's never been like reproduced, but like it's it's like that idea. And it's like, I don't know, doing
But
experiment
it's
like,
so perfect that like if you're, let's say you're angry, right, and your energy is like looking really spiky and shitty,
mhm,
because you exist, you're gonna attract the person who's got the opposite of that flower going on. It's
totally.
like, I'm ready for abuse. Abuse me.
Oh, totally.
And then you'll be like,
I mean,
I'll
it's
be angry and fearful at you. And then it's like, "Brr," you go back and
kind
you
of
feel horrible and they feel horrible. And but
kind of
then you can do the same thing with love and channel pure love too.
so like this kind of gets me thinking about what I learned as like a physics major. The only thing I feel like that really like was like fundamental that I learned about like the universe, or like that it was useful, was like entropy. Is this idea that everyone thinks a lot popular culture displays as like chaos or disorder, and like the math is much different, like much different. And entropy is like a certain number, which is pretty much just how many ways a plate or a system, whatever you want to call that, can fit together based on a certain amount of energy. So like if there's no more energy added to a system, say you have like the earth, then entropy increasing, which is the only thing that humans can tell the difference between the past and the future, is that system can fit together in more ways. Like, and because we can't predict it, we call it chaos. We can't, because the math is so complicated, or you need such a big computer to compute it. We might even know the math, but we just can't compute it. Either way, we can't get the information. We have to run through the simulation or reality to see what's going to happen, because you can't make a computer either way. So fundamentally, the universe is trying to create ways for us to exist. Okay, cool. Now, how do I pick or choose what to exist in and how? It's like, to create in math, to create, say you have like any system and you want two parts to like interact or have a large probability of existing together, you got to push against it, and it seems so fundamental and silly, but like if you push against a system, you create, this is all math speak. If you push against a system, which is like the ratio of forces gets to a certain point, you create an explosion of solutions or ways to be with that. And it's like, when I think about real life, it's like, oh, if I interact with something, in, speaking of what we are just, whether it's anger or love, academia, or the police institutions, if I push against any of these things to a certain point, I create realities that exist with those systems. So like by interacting and by changing the level with which I interact with any system, and it can be good, like maybe you are pushing against the system and you become a police officer, and you're that part of the system. Maybe you're on the other side, you keep breaking the law and pushing against, so you create all these ways for you to exist within that system, which is the being incarcerated or whatever. Academia, same way, you push against it and you become a professor, and you're always a part of it. Now it absorbs you, you are the system now, and so like, it's a big donut that you're pushing almost like a sperm to get into. And then at some point, when you push enough, you've created a reality or a circumstance where you are a part of that, because there's so many solutions or so many possibilities of you existing with that.
I like it's interesting because I keep coming back to this conversation with my housemates where they've never met anybody that's works for law enforcement.
Hmm.
So like being queer, being trans, being
Oh,
whatever
sure.
they are in my house, they're like all cops are bastards, right?
Yeah.
But then as we get to know each other, and it's like, hey, what if my whole family works for law enforcement? Like they
Yeah.
are people too. They're not. I promise you, they're not intentionally targeting people. They're trying to do the best they can. They're even fighting against other people that are doing bad work in their departments. you know.
Totally.
So trust me, there's people out there on the force or the fire department that you do want, even though
Yeah.
there's racist people on that force too.
Right. Like Eric Lau wanted to be a cop. He got so close, and how, and it's like people like that. It's like, dude, you want those people. That's like who you want
Yeah,
there.
right, sure, sure. But so now the narrative in the house has shifted to like, I think Felix like he fucked a like prison guard or something. Then he was like, I probably would not have gone on a Tinder date with this guy based on that. And then I had
Cool.
a great time and it was cool. And now I'm like, okay, I don't know everything about the situation.
Right.
I think
You're
similarly to like their situation, right? Like I don't know what it's like to be I need to be a trans person in
Mhm.
this world.
Yeah.
Like initially the narrative that I was fed was that's not appropriate, it's silly, it's a waste of money. And now I'm like, if anybody said that to me now, knowing Felix,
Yeah.
I would be the fucking rock in the river and be like, no, hell no, hell
Yeah.
no. This person needs to do this because it's important. And it helps so many other people transition into their own. They go from the fucking caterpillar to the butterfly because
Right.
they know this guy.
Right. And
So
instead,
they know this person that has the fucking kahunas to say, hey, I was born a woman and I want to be a man. Like, he doesn't even have a dick and he's a man.
totally.
Like 100%, like that to me is so fucking powerful and valid that like there is no way that we should be policing any other way than saying local community and then also there's guys who are going to come in and lay down the force. They're going to kick down your door, right? That person does not need to be the quarterback or the head coach. The quarterback or the head coach should be a therapist.
Yeah.
And occasionally, those guys need to come in because that's a crazy person with weapons.
And I mean, we're seeing
Okay.
that. We're seeing that happen. Like, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what cities it is, but like, mental health responders instead of police. Like, dude, I have.
No badge, no
I'm
fucking
30
color.
years old, bro, and I've never heard that happening. And that's fucking crazy.
I
It's
mean, it's happening. It's just like it takes being like building bridges with somebody like Felix for me because I'm like, hey, I side with cops. Like, I don't think that every single one of them is a good person, but there's a lot of people that I know that work in that industry that do a lot of good work. They really try hard and they've seen a lot of shit that's fucking dirty.
yeah, totally. I mean, fuck, you know, and you see that stuff too, and it's hard not to be corrupted by it. Also, it's its own situation. It's easy to judge anything from standing out looking in.
Definitely.
That's for sure. And like you didn't understand these ideas until you like interact and literally like push against, and not in a negative way. I just mean by like, you literally bump into Felix several times a day. So now you are mixed and you're forced into this reality that has all these new ways of existing with these not just physical places but ideas, and other
But
literally.
it's fun too, because like he makes jokes about being trans. He's like, this is weird. This is weird. I'm weird. Like this is a
It,
funny thing. Like, don't misgender me because I misgender myself sometimes. Where I'm
right?
like, rad. That's I misgender you probably twice a week.
It's like having a community of people, right? Where you're like, look, I'm not where I want to be at right now, whether, where whatever you're into, but having a community that supports you on that way, of like, oh, I don't have a book, but when I go hang out with Jesse, I sit and write, of like, oh, so like this is supporting the person who I want to be, and the community that I want to be a part of. And then we're learning through that, and it's clumsy and you're like tripping over yourself, spelling errors or, misgendering yourself. And when you're going through that process, but to have the people that are like, oh, that can laugh with you about it too, but at the same time, it's, you can't, I feel like, at least from my perspective, you like can't have you can't have that perspective unless you know a person well that's going through it. Like, I'm not, I can't call myself a feminist or like an activist or on any side. Like, that's not for me to say. Like, the women in my life will make that choice. Or like, if I'm an ally, the people that are struggling will make that choice, and I could try and show up or whatever in any way possible. But when it comes down to it, like, maybe I'm getting in the way and I'm not helping, maybe I'm posting a black square on fucking Instagram and it's blocking out, like
Mm.
there's so many layers and it's so commodified and twisted in the media of what being is and what certain personhood or somebody's experience in this thing. And it's like, no, like the only thing that's real is that person fucking telling me, and then my misconceptions before being dissolved, you know, like those. But beyond that, it's like, you know, I can't know, and I can do what I think to strive towards it, but like without the proper group of people around me. And then this isn't for everything, you know, right? But like when it comes to other people and you being a part of other people's lives or a positive part, you know, or trying to support, it's like up to them to be like, this is how you do it, you know, like
Mm.
well, most of the time, hopefully, because they might not have that either. If they weren't treated right, you know, you don't know how to treat yourself right. You need an example. Therapy.
Lots of therapy, lots and lots of therapy.
I mean, that'll help hopefully if you get the right one.
So we got into a little bit of like theory there. Let's go into like let's flip a page to poetry.
Ooh,
When did you start writing? Why
that's
did you
like
start writing?
that goes hand in hand with the psychedelics, really, because I don't know. It was in high school. I was probably 17 and I was just starting to experiment. And I just remember thinking kind of in rhyme or whatever and being like, I should, you know, this sounds cool. I should write this down, you know? And that was pretty much it. And then I remember I got my first notebook for, I had some in college that I would just like doodle in, and I filled up that were like, you know, they're parts of books that I've written now that I've gone back and taken stuff out of. But the first time I got a notebook that was like, this is for poetry, was I did a road trip with Andy. I forget who else, but we went out to Vegas. Maybe Andy and Pat
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Penny, maybe.
Yeah.
And we drove to Reno, and then we drove through the Nevada desert to Vegas.
Wait, Reno and then Vegas, 'cause that's like north and then
Yeah,
south.
because we had to like pick up Kenny.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was it was a
Yeah.
wild, you know, and that desert out there is weird. Like there's, you know, but that was, I feel like that was where Alex Gray has his painting where he's like, this is when I knew I was going to be an artist, you know, his portrait when he was like 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
That was like my notebook where I was like, I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to write poetry and this is it, you know. And even then it wasn't like, oh, there was no word for it. It was just like this is just happening and I should catch it, you know. It might be useful to me or someone else, or it feels good too, you know. So why not?
But there's like let's see. I think I've met literally one person who's wrote a movie script that got produced and one person who's got a book in print since meeting you, and you have three books in print, which is like just literally not like, oh, I took photography and made a photo book. This is like actual work that you know, that takes time, effort, documentation, writing it on a napkin in a bar, transferring it. What is that drive? Like, is there any way you can describe that type of like? There's a need for that to exist, and you're carrying that cross. Like, so how do you? Why would you? How do you describe the fuel for that?
uh, I mean, you were there for the inflection point, I would say, of like when it came from like creating the art to feeling the need to share. Was at we went down to LA, man, for Realize to do the t-shirt thing. And so we went down, we were doing the zine, and a friend of mine's boss was some like I don't know, he worked for some fashion company. So we went down to get some advice. We were trying to start a clothing line, and it was kind of a scattered trip. We were supposed to meet this dude. He kind of put us off. So we go skating anyways. First time I skated in forever, and I shredded, dude. I fucking nollie heel transferred that pyramid in Long Beach with a Barta. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? I've like got goosebumps thinking about that. That was so sick.
Hell
And
yeah! Shout out to Mike for sure. Shout out to Mike. Much love.
dude, right? Always good to hear that voice. And then he calls us, and we pick up that beer. And then you the whole time you're like, oh, my buddy Dave wants to hang out, you know, and Dave's cool cat, you know, we should make time for Dave, you know. And so we hang out. We have this little meeting with the Marwan Garcon. That was his name, and it works well. Just make high quality shit, sell it. We go to Dave's house, and Dave is having this giant party for these. I think it was the Montessori school, right?
Yeah.
Something where this family had like 6 kids in college, and this is just like the community coming together to be like, let's help this family out, like. And the food was like off the chain, like just beautiful dishes. It was one of the nicest like casual parties I've ever been to. And then just like a full band playing. And I remember sitting down, they passed the hat around once and like, sorry, bro, like I spent all my money getting here, like I don't have anything. And I kind of missed that part where you guys told me about it later, but then that dude came on and he sang some song, and all I remember about it was like, the things you create are not yours. Like, you're a medium of God and you're obligated
Mhm.
to share them.
Damn.
And
Whoa. I forgot that till just now. Wow.
that shit, I kind of was like, it felt like someone punched me or something. That was like, bro, you're doing all this shit and you just like keep it in books in your room. Like, that's fucking selfish. It's not just like,
Oh, wow.
it's not just like whatever, you're not just scared to share it. It's like you're doing the world a disservice by not sharing, and then we went off, I was with someone else, so we cut out and then missed the rest of the party. But that part was like, oh, duh, like.
Jeez.
And it goes so well with like ancient ideas of like, in the Greek, I'm not sure if it was Greek or Roman times. I forget who told me this, but they wouldn't be like, you're a genius. They'd be like, you have a genius, or you're connected. You're fucking channeling this
Uh-huh.
thing.
Yes, yes.
And it's like, dude, I'm not like, can I take credit for this? And it made it so much easier to share art when you're like, oh fuck, it's not necessarily mine, like it's just coming out of me. So you can then detach your ego from it, and you don't
Yes.
necessarily
Yes.
feel bad about what someone thinks about it to them, because it's like, oh, it's just, you're just projecting, man. Like, and if you fucking get something out of it, sick, and if not, like, go look in a different mirror and find something else somewhere, but and
Damn.
it's so hard to keep that and remember while you're doing it, and and the ego does pop up with all the self-doubt and all this other shit, to be like, fuck, like, deep down. And it goes hand in hand with the grays too, of like, when your art is church and it's fucking spiritual and you're connecting with
Mm.
something supernatural, bro. Like, you're taking nothing and you're creating something out of it. That's like
There you
ghosts.
got shit. Yeah, it's for sure.
It's straight magic. And anyone, I mean, like Julian was saying it on the other podcast, or like, I forget the woman's name, but she was the therapist in Austin who's like throwing these parties, and everyone's got their own form of magic, right? Where you're in a room of people, maybe pleasuring themselves online, where you thought, oh, this sounded weird, but all of a sudden you're overcome to share these parts of yourself, and you're more comfortable than you've ever been, because you're access to this magic that these people open, that they're sharing, and then you do it too, and you're empowered, or it's like you're standing up and reading poetry in front of a group of people. Like, you might be terrified, but one line could like change somebody's fucking life, like one
Mm.
line. Same with music or a painting or anything, like. And it's like that's why everyone should try, at least. But it's
Dude,
hard.
it's got me to this point of like, I felt like I knew what I needed to do to become an artist, and I think there's been some success to some extent within that. But then I look at the cards, I do the astrology readings. I look at the Indian astrology. I look at the Akashic record. I look at all these different things, and it's like, ah, it wants you to do something different. It's not a painter,
Right.
It's closer to a rock star, which I'm like, I don't want to necessarily be that, but okay, what if we try? What if we try that? What if we try that? And one of the things I keep saying to Sakai is like, how does it feel to know you're about to record an album that's going to change music forever? And I just like to say that sentence to him, and he's just like giggles, like, get the fuck out of here, go away. But then as I'm like on retreat here with one of my best friends, Regina, like just kicking it, we're going deep into our subconscious. We're in the hot tub. We're fucking drinking beers. We're hanging out. And she's like, you have the potential to change punk music forever. And I'm like, I like that sentence.
Fuck yeah.
And if it's punk slash hip hop slash electronic slash little Nas X right now, because we're gonna bring the queer community with us.
right?
Fuck yeah, let's
And
do it.
if someone thinks Lil Nas isn't punk, like fuck, bro, like like all those things are the same, and it's just like, dude, you're punk or you're a rapper, and you grew up with like shitty guitars and big amps, so you play punk rock music, or you're like a fucking punk rocker, but you grew up where like people were making beats, so you're a rapper. It's like not, it's all the same. Like
Yeah,
when
when
it comes
people
down.
look at Felix like, oh, he's not punk rock or whatever, it's like, dude, this dude breaks more molds than anybody that I've known as a cisgender straight white male. Definitely, definitely, definitely. And has some fucking kahunas. It has no dick.
But my idea of like of punk two evolved so much. I think Gilman really did it the best for me when I went in there as like I was maybe 25 or 26. I think we were seeing Ceremony or something. Some
Yeah.
like thick ass hardcore band that I'd never seen that just showed up and it was like perfect. I remember Jordan Parsay, or not Jordan Parsay, Jordan Mills was
Mills,
there.
Mills,
Yeah,
Mills. Yeah.
it was a really sick show. And just the signs on the wall of like, Gilman, if you're not familiar, it's like a community run theater in Berkeley that like Green Day got big there and then got kind of kicked out, bro, because it's like no major labels allowed. Like this is a community place. It's run by volunteers
Yep.
that and on the wall, the zine libraries, just like take and leave one, and on the walls, just
Yep.
like
Yep.
no fucking hate. You got something bad to say, like get the fuck out, like it's
Totally.
radically inclusive, and that's like the most punk rock thing, and then
Yes.
everything past that is like some facade that was put on to try and be like, oh, but this or that. Like no, like everyone's allowed, and like if they're not, then it's not punk. And of course there's like, you can't be punching people in the face or whatever, but like that's the point, is like the community should be open to everyone until they fucking tarnish their own reputation. That's
We went to the diner today, and I could not stop talking about a story at Gilman, and at least the story I was telling Regina was I was going to see a ceremony show, and it was like I think all y'all were there, and I think
yeah.
Alla was there, and Alla had like never been to the West Coast. I think one time she was like at FGO was like, I never smoked Cali weed, which is like probably bullshit being from
Yeah.
Maryland, but like just to have it passed around as if it's a cigarette was different.
Yeah, totally.
So we go to Gilman, ceremony's playing, they're headlining. I definitely remember Alex Warner being there.
Yeah.
Because I remember him just being like, we're in, and it's like, I don't know. When you're around Alex, like, you remember that shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's like a lightning bulb that you can't fucking unpack that shit ever.
Right.
And so they start playing. He turns around and he gives me like the low like double five, and I slap his hands, and he's just like in the pit. And I look at Alla, and I'm like, I'm in the pit. And then it was like 90 minutes of fucking ceremony in the pit, and none of us had a bloody nose. And I go back out looking out for my girlfriend, and I'm like, hey, I'm so sorry, I bailed on you. That's not my norm. And she was just like, that was the most entertaining show I've ever seen. Like, I don't know what happened to her on the sidelines, but like to me, I needed that fucking young energy to like go express itself with my buddies in a safe way. Like nobody got a bloody nose. Occasionally that shit happens, but that was just like a fucking romper room, and we were all safe.
Right. And that's like all the noise shows back at like grandma's house and soup kitchen and shit, where like you could be and it's like not just that, but like there's like people where they're like getting naked and fucking shit faced, and just it's like almost like the Burning Man, where like it doesn't matter who's here. You go in a room and you're smoking blunts with a dude who might have a gun and grill, and like he's strapped because you don't know where you are. You're in the middle of a city that you're not fucking from, in a neighborhood you've never been to, but like, so what? You get to kick it with all these people. I remember fucking, and even when I stepped outside of those communities in the surrounding ones, I remember drinking like 8 tall cans in Oakland and then going out to get a dub sack from like a homeless dude, And this is in like 17th and Mandela. I think it was like not a good area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like an 18 or 19-year-old, obviously shit-faced, just like white kid walking around. And all I asked this dude for like a dub sack, and he gave it to this guy in like a dope ass car with these big old rims, and they drive off. And I was like, damn, I probably got just robbed $20. And I was like, where am I, bro? Like, I just got robbed $20 and that's it. Like, I'm out of here. This is a bad idea, But at the same time, it was like, that was like the chillest thing that could have happened to me. I could have like gotten robbed or whatever, but like that's also just I preconceived notions about places. And it's like, dude, it's just a place. You're just a person going to have a good time. No one gives a fuck, you know?
Dude, it sounds like it's like time for a Parvati tier. I gotta share. I gotta share these with you. They're so epic.
Dude, that's I just love the full circle of like the doctor and like the names are familiar and
Wait,
shit.
Dr. Paragon, you know him?
Dude, I've definitely had Paragon.
Product.
Yeah, undoubtedly. He's OG.
What
Shit.
about Sam Spade?
Spade might have been the most recent one. I'd have to look.
Wait, where are you getting Spade stuff? Because his needlepoint's fire, dude.
No, this is some wow. I don't know who I got it
Oh.
from. I'd have to look. And I don't think
Spade's got some next level shit for sure. This is rad. Spade's on another chemistry experiment.
really. These ones I chop mine up all wrong. There's like it was, it's uncut and I went to cut it into 10 strips and I end up
Like that?
Huh?
Uncut it was like, was it through like family type of shit? Because uncut family shit is like that's fine. That's fine.
No, this is just cheaper. Like to get the wow, just cheaper, white on white.
Oh yeah.
And it is, but I ended up like 50.
It's cheap to get fucking fire doses. What do you mean?
Well, I mean,
Yes, it is.
This is it's the same stuff. It's just on a paper that's not cut up, Doesn't have perforations. Don't give me that. I don't care.
Because they soak it in the bathtub with it.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I would think you just dip it.
Yeah.
Just boop boop.
But needlepoint is what you want for actual cut out doses.
Yeah, because then
Yeah.
the doses are proper.
But I'm about to go into Samadhi for like 12 hours in the woods. I mean, dude. I wish you could be here. The Prattsville woods is just unreal out here.
I can't wait till you can try some of these Cubenzis that I got.
Yeah, look, let's do it. I mean, you're live on YouTube.
I got work later, bro.
I know. He's so honest. We love him.
I can have a cap.
Oh shit. Okay, I'm a bad influence even on Zoom.
It's a little guy. This is my project now.
Wow. What? Okay, that's I know it's Cubensi, but what's the strain specifically?
These are the blue meanies.
Meanies. Oh man.
And then I have we got a nice run of Hawaiians in there that are much smaller.
Right on.
And then next up will be I actually have some lion's mane growing right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Anything else that's like edible, not psychedelic?
Yeah, I got some oysters, but I can't get them to fruit. So we'll see. Maybe in a week or two. I'll do a big batch of them. And then I got some ape on the way and some those azurescents that grow outside only. So we'll see how those go. But still, I'm still new to it. These are like my first 3 productive, where I didn't ruin it. Oh, I made it work. Yes.
Uh-huh.
My little babies.
I just got these. I guess I don't know. I was trying to screen share, but it's not worth it. I got these reishi that were like.
Oh yeah.
My head the other day. I mean, yesterday with Regina.
I love that. Are there any fresh mushrooms out there yet?
I saw some chaga that like I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to go up and dunk in the NBA and then somebody stuffs you,
yeah,
that's how I felt about this chaga. Like I was just like, I'm in the tree, I'm climbing it, I got my knife and a rock, I'm ready, and it just was like, I just couldn't do it.
I commissioned like a mushroom knife from this dude. Ty.
Check out Matt's knives, like Matt DeSimone's knives.
Dude, yeah, we gotta drop. What's his Instagram?
I'm off Instagram, but like,
oh fuck Matt, yeah, I forget.
I think it's Matt DeSimone, like literally.
Yeah. And then D-Claw, these D-Claw knives. I think that's what they go by. They're so sick. Any handmade knife, you're just like, yeah, a handmade knife.
D-Claw knife.
D-Claw, it's like I commissioned it. So Keenan posted about this kid when he was living down there. Because that dude is so good at just like giving the shout out to homies and stuff. So I was like, all right, you
He
know.
hit me up, and I was like, I feel so bad because I responded super reactive to him, but he was like, I want to know about crypto. I'm on Voyager. What do I do? Just buy via, you know? And I was just like,
Yeah,
dude, don't make a profit. It's about making a difference or something like that. We're just
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
it's a nice message, but it's just also like, fuck, like, build the bridge. Like, his guy wants to make a difference. He doesn't
Yeah,
really care about. He needs probably money. You know what I mean?
totally.
Like, but like to
I,
come at him like that, it's like, fuck. Here I go again, just being like self righteous and shit.
evangelical,
Right.
but
Right.
it's all good, you know. We all get into it for our own reasons, but yeah. So he dropped this declaw dude years ago, and then I was like, had some cash and was like, yeah, I want a fucking mushroom knife, just for cutting them, you know.
Totally.
Nice little curved blade. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Should be shipping soon.
I mean, I can't wait to go back down to the ravine. I mean,
Oh yeah,
hiking with Regina has been brilliant. It slows me down so much that I'm like absorbing this whole other experience. But like, I think today, she kind of wants to have her own afternoon.
totally.
Me being high on 220 mics, I think I should be able to romp around for quite a bit. But we'll see.
Fuck yeah.
So okay, lastly, we kind of we hit some laps.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going next? You're working a full time job. You got some projects in the background, but where are you going
Let me
next?
see. Uh, I do have this write up I did for my bike trip that's just sitting there. So I'm looking for a place to publish that.
Oh yeah, what about the bike trip? Is that
Uh,
something you're gonna
yeah.
do again? Something like that?
Yeah, me and Andy were gonna go from San Diego down to Cabo, but
Right.
COVID got in the way. So maybe next year or something. We'll see. GameStop takes off. Maybe I'll ride over and meet you, dude. I'm done. Done with work.
I don't have to work. Come over. Come over.
Yeah, right, dude. As soon as it
Get it in
moons.
a mirror. You know about mirror?
Oh, dude. As soon as my
You can
GameStop.
even GME a mirror. You can
Oh,
put GME on mirror,
fuck.
but you have to get a Terra wallet.
Right? It's just gonna take like the transferring. I'm like, oh, and it's so much money that I have in there, dude. I'm like, ooh,
Dude,
I don't.
I know, but like it's worth it, bro. Like, cause then it's blockchained.
Yeah, totally. You're so right. Moving, it's so
Wait,
stressful, bro.
I know. But like, if okay, I started staking with Mirror,
Uh-huh.
and Mirror was worth about 450.
Yeah,
It just broke $9. So it's like just you staking GME.
and doubles the price of mirror.
No, well, I mean that's fine. Like that you coming into the pool, like the pools are worth like 1.5 billion at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
So whatever money you think you have,
nothing.
it's like a drop in the bucket.
Yep.
But what is cool is that you're going to get rewards in Mirror Coin by putting your liquidity there.
Mhm.
That is now just Bitcoin's going down, everything's going down, Mirror's going up, 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 because it's just a mirrored coin that you get rewards in. And then what you can do is you can compound that interest into another pool. Like you can take that coin
It's
and
like
say,
if you
hey,
put your dividends
you
back in.
can't buy mirrored GME
Mhm.
without mirror coin. So when you're getting kicked back these rewards that are going up in value, you have another option to restake them in the mirror ETH pool, which
Yeah,
everybody has to go through
yeah,
if they want to get any mirrored asset.
totally.
So I'm just saying, like, if that's your game, I get it. Like, I don't have the fucking bandwidth to be like buy fucking VGX and X, Y, and Z and
Yeah,
APC coin or GME. But I'm like, if I'm gonna stake everything in this mirrored stock market play,
yeah.
which,
This is how
which
to
I'm
do.
kind of doing now,
Yeah,
it's the stock market's gonna go up. It's quarter two. They're
yeah.
gonna dump it in quarter three, and they're gonna pump it in quarter four. That's what they always do.
Uh-huh. Fuck yeah. Right? Ah,
But
I've been.
if you're making enough hand over fist in GME, then do
But
your
that's it. The GME at this point is a waiting game of like it's going to go up a lot at one point because it's shorted, and we'll see. So it's like
they were,
steady.
they were trying to crush it down this week. I've seen it.
It doesn't matter, bro. I mean, if you look at the graphs from the companies that this has happened to before, they go down drastically, almost to nothing, and then they shoot up to for the I forget the company's name, but the chart for the real estate firm in 2008 had like $100 share price and it went up to $13,000 a share.
Wow.
Yeah, so and that is like orders of magnitude smaller than what is happening now. So,
All I'm saying is if you blockchain that, because if you come up, let's say you come up like 20, 50 million, right?
mhm,
People are going to be all up in your ass.
mhm.
If that shit's blockchained, it's like fucking read the ledger. Get the fuck away from my family and my friends.
Yeah,
Because there's no, I mean, you're right, but it's like they're gonna try to find some way to tell you you're wrong.
yeah, totally, definitely. Right. I mean, it's at this point though, it's the same with crypto. I feel like if it's like a state of mind beyond where the mainstream can even exist anymore, it's like that is so low level. Just forms of communication. Like it's just manipulative and uh reactionary. Like it's there's like nothing that is real on the mainstream media, and I feel like those are the forces that those are the tentacles with which they pull our heartstrings mostly, is these flows of information, right? Which is just like it's like they're forcing us to interact with this system of fear, like because it's all around us so that we build realities and live with that fear as like a main guiding force. But once you've removed that fear, or at least, and not always, it comes back up. But if you can peer above it or around it, then that's where like the sense of like serenity comes from. When you're like, oh, even if GameStop goes back down, like fuck, dude, I've lived on food stamps before, and like I can be poor. I've done it. It sucks, but like, I'm not afraid of it. And so, or like, I'm not afraid of what the news is saying about the decisions that I'm making because I trust myself, and the people around me and my resources, which any of those could be faulty also, and I could fail. But all you can do is like fail and learn. That's like the only way to grow. Like you're not just great, like everyone who is great failed tremendously, and they
Mm.
just whether they did it in private when they were very young, and like no one saw it, so they're a master by the time they're 15, or you started when you're 30 and like there's raw footage of you eating shit the whole time, but
Right.
either way, like the work was done. you know just
Damn.
got to see through the fear, man. Right. And I mean, fuck, you know you get to the point where I feel like you're at, where it's like not just seeing through it, you've like pulled it aside. And that's like, I don't know how you found like ideas like mirror and stuff, but I feel like that's like you threw the bed sheet of fear off and you're like, yeah, bro, like just what is there out there? And I want to learn about it. And then like, God, I'll bet mirror scares the shit out of so many people, bro. Like only $1 billion. Why? Like that thing should be trillions, and it will be. But it's like there's so much fear around, oh, crypto, this or that. And it's like, man, it is such a power of good. Like, and it maybe, of course people use it for bad, but like really, like,
Even those guys, it's like they funnel themselves into this little. Okay, let's put everything on Signal. Let's put everything in Monero. It's just like, y'all are the ones being silly.
yeah, it's about
You're
the
the ones
technology.
organizing yourself into that criminal organization.
Right? It's about freedom, and there's like being able, like, and again, like you got to interact with the institutions you want to succeed, and that's like, so like I have seen the dark net or whatever probably do more positivity for people than maybe like the medical industry has for some people, because like people can have self-medicate in a way where they have safe things and they're well educated about it, and they're doing the education to get access to these things. They wouldn't be taking them unless they were researching them, where other people might go to a doctor and get given a Klonopin to go to bed, and then like a year later you've been taking benzos 2 or 3 times a week.
100%, 100%.
you know
I'm not disagreeing with that, but the thing that I am concerned about after spending as much time on the Tor network and the dark net as I have
Mhm.
is that there's a lot of it's a lucrative market,
Mhm.
and that's an industry that does not kick back to the local fire department, uh, elementary schools, high
Taxes.
schools, like
Totally.
like not exciting shit. Fucking utilities that we all need to do.
For
Everybody wants to have a garbage man and a recycling guy come by their house. They
Yeah,
need money. Like, and
right.
they can get a better program going if they have more money. If we are treating each other as profiting off one another as if that were separate. Like if I was to say, hey, I'm gonna sell you this sheet of acid for $500, today, that's not a cool move because it's like now at this point I'm like, hey, this is like, what if my grandmother came over and she was like, I want some acid? I'd be like, I'll give it to her for free.
Yeah, straight up.
Why rip somebody else off that's actually connected mathematically to you?
Yeah, totally.
That makes no sense. And if you give generously,
Mhm.
it makes no sense in the way that we're raised. But if you leave 100% tip at a restaurant, I guarantee you'll either hit a scratcher, some fucking
Well,
absurd amount of money will come your way, like because the universe says you're ready to give it away. We want to give him more.
at the same time, like you're creating, like those people will spend that money. Like, okay, it didn't get spent on that. It's going to get spent on something else in the community. Maybe they'll send it out on Amazon or some bullshit.
But fuck worrying about other people. Like worry about your own donut. And like, what happens if you give an exorbitant tip at a restaurant?
Mhm.
And now next time you come in, your drink's ready. They know your name. They
Yeah,
love you. And
totally.
not to say that you should do that to say that, hey, I know something that you don't, and that working at a restaurant is not worth your time and you're stupid. That's also a power move that people do with money. So keep it in check. But like I'm just saying, if somebody's like, "Hey, I'm begging for change," and you give them 20, that dude is like, I don't know what to say. Like I don't need to beg for change for the next hour, literally.
I mean,
That's
what?
a weird ripple that you have the opportunity to put in the universe every day.
Mhm. For sure. Right.
I,
Giving.
I never liked living with Scary Larry, but like one of the things he taught
Who's
me was like
Gary
give.
Oh, Larry. Was that in Santa Barbara?
Yeah, I mean I don't know what to say about Larry other than he's just like he's a good man. He's kind of like Jimmy. Remember when I like
Yeah, I remember Jimmy, bro.
Jimmy?
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing, just like that. Look, you get in trouble, you go with these guys, whether your skin's this color, that color, we call you this name, that name.
Yeah.
You all have a name, you go with them.
This is how
And
you do it if you get in that situation.
but Scary Larry's biggest teaching to me was like, give it all away. You have so much abundance. Just see what happens. And what's crazy is the more I give it away, it's like the more I'm just like, now I'm on vacation with Regina in the
Yeah.
woods. Like we've got a hot tub and a like killer place with 6 acres. And I mean, that's all because of like starting to give it away to the bums, to the people that are working the day to day. Like
Totally.
we start to eject ourselves out of that reality, guys like you and me, because we've been through some trenches. Whether we want to take it through a childhood that's depressing or 45 years of working a cubicle job. That's
Yeah,
the
right.
same karma. It just depends on how you want to ride it.
Totally. That's so true. Just gotta raise up. Easy to say.
You got to balance, and you got to
What
work.
time is it?
I don't know. That was 140 right there.
Oh yeah, I do. I gotta go to work. Fuck, bro. Well, I would say thank you for your time, my friend.
Dude, this was sweet. I mean, I think I got a little fired up towards the end of the episode.
Good.
Just that the beginning episode early, like talking about where you're from and like this season has literally been not any guest that I've actually wanted to have on. Every single guest has been like, when are you gonna have this person on? And the last guest I had was Tyler, and he was like, how's Jeff? He's gonna be no comply. And I was like, oh fuck. So that being said, like, is there a guest that like you could see in the Rockstar edition that you want to hear a podcast from?
I would love to hear you chat with Warren if you could get Warren on here,
Okay.
or um, or maybe John Crane if he's got time. But that dude might be busy, you know.
I'll reach out to Warren. John's hard to get to right now.
You
Sure.
he he might have stood up method makers. Fuck, bro.
Did he?
Right? I don't know. I think he may have stood Neil up, but
Oh, John. Oh, John did. John did.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's fine. Yeah, but yeah, I'm saying Warren. Warren
Oh
even.
no, Warren. I don't know. I mean, he would be dope on there too, right? But I just feel like if you, I want to see where crypto and VR are gonna meet, and like if someone's gonna be at that beach, he's gonna be chilling on that beach, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Plus, he's like, I don't know. Yeah, the VR. He's just a manifester. When I worked with him, he's like, I want to do this, and then like now he's like beyond that, and he's like doing even more. Like it's just amazing to see, you know.
It was so funny because like I asked him like kind of a weird like security internet question, you know, and then just like on Facebook he just was like deny, deny, deny the answer. It's like I know you know the answer to this, but like
Oh,
that was really a cool move to play publicly. You
well,
know,
he
it
works at
taught
YouTube.
me something about it.
You know, he works at YouTube, but it's owned by Google. Like, I mean, right? He's probably aware of that stuff. I mean, it's crazy. He was there for the shooting and stuff, like at YouTube.
Ah, Jesus.
Yeah,
There's a
he's
shooting at YouTube?
yeah, dude. This right? This was like a year or two ago.
Oh, ah, man.
Yeah, but just like it's a cutting edge, and he's like worked his way hard to get there
I
with
know.
clear vision.
Ah.
And Warren is the first dude,
He
honestly,
like
that
played front line of like college football though. It's like he's
right.
ready to go to battle.
And at the same time, he's the first person that ever I felt like candidly was I shared my poetry with, and he was like, "This is good." And when I first met Warren, I was like, "Dude, this guy's kind of a dick." And it was like, as I got to know him, being brought up in California, people are all roses and daisies in front of you, and then they talk shit behind your back. Warren just says he's just real to your face. So like, it was a new way to communicate. That
He's
in the
like
end,
your Scary Larry. I swear to God.
right? But in the end, like, okay, you're like harsh and brutally honest, but then when it comes to something where like I'm being vulnerable and you're being brutally honest and it's positive, like it's not bullshit, bro. Like,
Hmm.
oh, like maybe I am. Maybe there's something here for other people, you know. And then I mean he's the one who told me about the poetry night I went to start reading at Cafe Frascati or
Ah,
whatever. Right? It's
he
just
was
like,
the one that said he messaged me the day that like your James had passed,
damn, right?
and he was the one that was like Jeff's at work and you should reach out to your friend and be like, I don't know, get him the fuck out the house. You know
Right?
what's he doing here right now? This is not good. He's got 2 weeks paid leave.
Right. The dude is the highest, probably some of the highest caliber of character I've met in my life, you know? Just a privilege. Like, and God just sat me down next to him, you know? It's like, yo, you're gonna need this guy.
Hell
He's
yeah.
important.
But the
And
funny thing is, like, he thinks that same thing about you. Like, I know he does. Like, the way he speaks about you is like, it's like you are not in the room, and him and I, can go off on how great Jeff is. You know,
well, it's cool that that's why we got to complete the triangle and get him in here, you know? It's like,
totally.
it's just good
Yeah,
people talking about good people.
I'm
All right, I
down.
got to get ready for work, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Thank you so much for being here, dude. This was
dude,
awesome.
have a great night. I love you, man.
All right,
Pirate
uh,
Utopia.
spread it. Ah.